Ali here at mindwavermeditation.com, and today I'm going to share with you another little story, just a real small one, just to help you find some more perspective on your life, the way things are going, where you can kind of look at it from another angle. Oh, see something completely different. Maybe you're stuck in something right now, or maybe you don't even know you're stuck in something, and with this new perspective, you'll see the whole world in a whole new light. And that's always fun. It always helps to make life easier whenever you can, however you can. And these little reminders where we just check in and say, hey, and paint a different vision, it's always going to help. So stick with me. And I'll see you on the other side. Let's dive right in as we do. There's a story that I love, and I've heard it in so many different versions, and it's such a simple story and such a simple reminder of how we can be stuck in this formulaic, regimented view of life and just be going through the motions and like on an autopilot without ever taking a moment to go, hang on a second, do I want to be doing this? Or is this just the way things are going? You know, you could be in a job that you've just been doing for years, and maybe it's now to the point where you're like, do I even like this job? Maybe you have to do that job, you know, but it gets the mind turning because minds turn. And you know, this is the same with relationships. It's the same with habits, naughty habits. It's the same with all sorts of things. So I want to just throw you a couple of stories to see if they help you relate to your own life and help you maybe kind of look at your own life from another point of view. Whoa. So there's this couple, and the wife makes these amazing dinners, always just these next level mwah. Mwah. Is that how you do it? Mwah. These amazing dinners anyway, and he always really enjoys them. Blah 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 blah. So she's making this Sunday roast, and these particular couple are vegans. I don't know why they are, but they're having this vegan nut roast. Now, you can make a vegan nut roast delicious. It's very difficult to do, but if you can do it, then put your recipe down below, because I've never really had one. But anyway, she's making this nut roast. She's laying it out on the table. They're tucking in, and he goes, I need to ask you a question. Why do you always chop the ends off the nut roast? And she goes, what are you talking about? They're in the kind of double digits of marriage, you know, they get straight to the chase if they're arguing. What are you talking about? We're just about to eat, you're questioning my nut roast, where's this going, where's this coming from, what's the deal? He's like, whoa, 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 it's just a simple question. Why'd you cut the ends off? And she goes, that's just what you do. And he goes, that doesn't sound right. And she gives him one of those stares, those marriage stares. And he goes, carries on eating it. Thinks nothing of it. Fast forward a couple of weeks, he's having another meal. She does something similar. Cuts the ends off. And he's like, this isn't normal. So he asks her again. And she goes, what you bring this up for again? I've told you, it's just what you do. It's what you do with the roast. It's what you do. And she starts getting a bit more pent up. So he backs off and he goes, forget I said anything. It's delicious. I'm really, really enjoying it. Forget about it. So he carry on, changes the subject. Anyway, it starts ticking around in his mind. He's like, what the hell is going on with these? She's chopping the ends off. That doesn't make any sense. He starts looking online, can't find anything online. He's like, oh, how do I get to the bottom of this? Then he remembers, oh, she got that recipe from her mum. I'll ask the mum. So he organises this little meal and says, you know what? He calls up the mother-in-law and says, do you find we want to come round and try your cooking? Oh, you should try to do the nut roast. I love the nut roast. And she's like, oh, such an amazing idea. I'd love to. That's so lovely. So he's got brownie points from the wife. He's got brownie points from the mother-in-law. And he's feeling pretty good about himself because he's on a mission now. He's like, I'm going to find out about this thing. Anyway, fast forward, she makes the nut roast and she puts it out on the table, and it's a full nut roast. And he's like, well, how about that? It's a full nut roast, and the wife chopping off the ends there. So he brings it up. Oh, he brings it up. And he says, I don't mean to cause any arguments, but why have you not chopped the ends off? When old wife here, she likes to have a little slice either side. And she goes, what are you talking about? And he's like, oh no, I've messed it up here. I'm going to be in the doghouse. And the wife's she's got that raging look in her face. And he goes, well, she always chops the ends off. And she said she got that from you. And the mum goes, oh, yeah. I remember now, when she was little, we used to have this tin, and it never fit in the tin, so we'd slice the ends off. And the wife looks at him, and it all blows up, and he gets that massive grin on his face, like, yes, figured it out. And basically he goes home and he gets an earful. But he got to the end of it. He kept his mouth shut, he took the beating, but he got to the end of it. He realised that his wife had gone into autopilot from when she was young. She never questioned the chopping off. She just thought that was the way it was done, until later on, let's say 40 years later on, she's there and she's still doing it. And her mum, who taught her that, is doing something different, and she still hasn't clicked. And it's just autopilot, chop the ends off, throw them in the bin, whatever. Now, this happens all of the time. It happens consciously, subconsciously. You might be doing something and know you're doing it like that and go, oh, it's just the way I do it. I just like doing it like that. Or you might be subconsciously doing this. And this is what I want you to focus on, is to look at your life and look at any points in your life, at work, at home, in your hobbies, in your habits, and look where you're doing something on autopilot. Are you doing, you could be waking up in the morning, same finger on the light switch. Joe Dispenza talks about this. You get the same coffee mug, you do the same thing with all the same movements. It's literally in an autopilot mode. And this isn't necessarily a bad thing, but to observe it from a different perspective and just watch yourself going through the motions, the same journey to work, the same hand using the same stuff, it just helps you see how much we are on a treadmill sometimes, just going through the motions of life. And so I worked at this pub once. I worked there for a few years, and it must have been 4 years, and there was all these different managers that came in. There must have been about three or four managers when I was there. And when someone new came on, you'd show them how to run the bar, where everything was, where the safe was, where all the stuff was. And then the last thing that you always kind of just naturally said was, oh, and by the way, let me tell you about the freezer. So what we had to explain was, because of where the plug was to plug the freezer in, we had to pull the freezer out on these busy Friday, Saturday nights when it's heaving, and you had to get a vodka or whatever out there. You had to pull it out, give it a little shimmy to the left so you could lift the lid open. Get your vodka, put it back, and then push it back in. And it's just the way it was. It's just the way that it was set up. So I must have told that to, I don't know, maybe 10 different staff, maybe 2 managers. It was just ingrained. It was like, this is how it is, next person you show them. And it wasn't until the last manager came in, and I showed him the office and all the stuff, and I said, oh, and by the way, this is what we do with the fridge. And I pulled it out, I opened it up, got the vodka out, put it back, did the whole thing. And he looked at me and goes, why Why would you do that? And I said, well, it's just the way it is. And he went, huh. Why don't you just turn the fridge round, like it's here, and just turn it like that so the lid can come up. It's not going to hit anything. It's not going to hit the plug. And I went into this defensive mode, like, oh no, well, we can't do that because blah, 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 blah. And I realised I had no case, and he'd just literally blown my mind, and I felt ridiculously stupid. And it baffled me that I told that many people how to do this thing when this guy had come in with a new set of eyes and gone, well, just turn it round. Doesn't make any sense what you're trying to tell me to do. It wasn't the greatest first impression, let's put it that way. But that little story there got me thinking. It got me really looking at my life, because that was something ridiculously simple. And if I'd told maybe 10, 12 people that exact same thing, and they'd told other people, none of us had spotted this simple thing, which I don't understand. I don't know. We just get into this, oh, that's the information, that's what I'll do. So this is why people call people sheep, because, you know, the media, the news will tell you what is, you know, what to do, and we go, okay, and we just abide by what is. And, you know, most of the time that could be a totally legitimate thing to follow, and, you know, following good orders. But a lot of the time it's not. And there's all sorts of other agendas, and people's, you know, it's like adverts. They're trying to sell you products constantly. Buy this, and it's programming in. Oh yeah, I think I need some McDonald's. Oh, I don't even eat McDonald's. Why am I need you know? This is how it works. Programs program you. So I watch very little TV now for this reason. So I want you to just start looking at your life and look where you are in these habits and these autopilot, tunnel vision way of thinking, and see where you can spot them and go, and then make a change. So number one, conditioning. Where have you been conditioned? Where are you currently being conditioned? You know, I walked into town once and I started salivating. I was like, I'm hungry. What can I get? What can I get? And it's only when I started observing myself, I realized, because I was walking into town after walking from, you know, through streets where there wasn't anything, I was aware that there was shops, and I could basically buy some little sugary treats or whatever, a sandwich, something, just sensations, because they were suddenly available. But I wasn't hungry. I just knew that I was walking into freedom to buy things. And I caught it. And I caught it just in time, because I know if I hadn't caught it, I would have been blah, 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 blah. And that's where I have to watch my addictive tendencies. I can blindly just go, I need to, whatever. And it's all about getting ahead of those tendencies and those sensations, because we always feel the sensations in the body before the mind intellectualizes it and starts telling us this story. So number one, look at where you might be conditioned by adverts, by things you've been told and led to believe, and things you've downloaded from parents, teachers, or your culture that aren't necessarily true or what you truly desire. So number two will be to look at yourself and look at your habits in a finer detail. I'm currently doing a cleanse and we're aiming to do this once a month for 10 days. It's just a reset, and you still eat a lot of food. It's really good. I'll put the link down below. It's really good. Completely resets me on all different levels, and it just helps put me back in the the good autopilot. So once I get back on the good train, when I'm free to eat and drink whatever, I'm not so much going too far to the right or to the left, to the up, to the down. Living the middle path as much as possible. The extremes, instead of going happy, 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 I'm so happy, everything's amazing, wow, isn't life fantastic? Or, oh my God, the world, it sucks, I don't want to be here. It's just constantly coming back to the middle and leaning in, leaning out, having a bit of that, feeling a bit of that, and coming back to the middle. So any way you can reset yourself as much as possible is highly encouraged. Number three would be to notice what you're doing, see if you can make these changes, and then make totally different decisions, different actions. If you go one way to work, take another way if you can. If you always drink from the same coffee mug, drink from another one. This just keeps you stimulated, and it keeps you training you to not fall into these habitual patterns. So if you use the same pen, maybe you always wear the same thing to work out. I don't know. Sometimes you might find these things familiar and you might enjoy them, your special pen, that's cool. But if you're doing it with everything, you might find that you're falling into this autopilot. This is my life and this is what I do forever. So see where you can change them and see if it makes you feel different. Maybe you have 2 different mugs that you drink out of, and see if it makes you feel different, like you're not, just going through them, especially in lockdown as well. It's, anything to break the mold, change the environment is always encouraged. It's going to keep you fresh, it's going to keep you motivated, and it's going to keep you inspired to just look outside of the box as much as possible and see that life isn't just what is here and how we live it. So I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope you found some benefit, and please let me know down below if you make some changes, and I'll see you on the next one.